freaks me out. I never know if we're live. It says we're live. So I'm going to trust that StreamYards is live. We're live, everybody. Welcome to Across the Pond, episode 2. I'm Sean. I'm from the United States. Live in old South Kakalaki, South Carolina. And who are you? Who are you, buddy?
My name is Santi Claus. No, my name is Mark, and I am from England in the UK.
There we go. And yeah, this is just our little show. We like to. Mark and I are friends. Mark's been part of the channel for a long time, and this is basically you get to watch us catch up. We have like a monthly catch up where we just hang out and chat. And why not turn that into good old content? Why just be friends to be friends? I mean, who does that anymore? You know what I'm saying? If you don't have a podcast, if you're not streaming, are you even alive? Have you even had a real thought? I think not.
2006.
Back in my day, me and my friends, we used to hang out to hang out.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Actually, it's even like that with my old friends because now everything, all of our communication is completely revolves around making content for Zoobox.
Yeah.
You know, and it spurs on things like we'll record something or talk about a movie and then we'll talk for a few hours afterwards. But it's like that's the thing that like the impetus to actually speak to each other. So, oh boy.
Speaking of which,
Prophet in the chat.
Oh,
oi, mate. Hello, Gav, bruv. Have a look in the boots of me lorry, mate.
Oi, mate. Hello, Gav, bruv. Have a look in the boot of me lorry, mate. There you go. My best impression. Or I'll say it as I'd normally say it and see if it sounds any different. Oi, mate. Hello, Gav, bruv. Have a look in the boot of me lorry, mate. Was that any different? I feel like it was.
It works, though. It sounds natural, though. Like, you know, because before you were obviously putting on like a silly haha voice, like you're trying to make a mockery of the stream. But in your regular voice, you know.
Hello, mate. Yeah, I mean, we used to have Cockneys here.
Oi. You got to get that Bob Hoskins, the Ray Winston.
Oi, mate. Want to slam your head in the door of this fridge, mate?
You ever see what was it? I think it actually in the UK it was called Danny the Dog. Over here it was called Unleashed. It was Bob Hoskins and Jet Li.
Oh my god, yeah, that's going back a bit.
Brava, gentlemen. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you,
Mr. Prophet. Yeah. We used to obviously have Cockneys, which were white Londoners. I mean, everybody that's kind of from the southeast talks like that anyway, but the people with the really strong accents and that use Cockney rhyming slang, you know, apples and pears and all the rest of it, no longer really exist because they have been replaced. Not that I'm going into the whole great replacement stuff, but
oh shit,
genuinely, like I was listening to Sargon talk about it the other day, and I hadn't even, as sad as it sounds, like I hadn't even stopped to think about it, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, like I haven't heard like a proper Cockney probably for 10 years.
Yeah, out in the wild. Probably more likely to hear it in a movie.
Well, yeah, they've just been replaced by more of an accent of, do you know what I mean? In it, bruv, you get me? Come and have a crack on my ting, brethren. You know what I mean?
Prophet coming here. They've been replaced, not like the Great Replacement, only just like the Great Replacement. Yeah. Well, you know, some things I suppose they naturally evolve and change, like colloquialism, slangs, accents, the way people talk in certain regions, because culture changes and your influence changes. So, like now that we live in more of a quote unquote global society, like you're more exposed to larger swaths of the world, or even close by, right? Because sometimes you might live in a town or an area, a region, whatever you want to call it.
But I mean, he's right though. Like people, and what I mean by I'm not talking about the great replacement theory, is that he's completely right in that, you know, the people that used to be there that were mostly white Cockneys are now not mostly white Cockneys.
Yeah.
So he's 100% right. All I meant by that was, I'm not sure that there was this big plan on like, we're going to replace the white working class with some brown working class people, because I just don't think they gave a shit who was the working class. Use my language. I don't think they cared who the working class were. Like, as long as there's people running the underground and, driving the taxis and sweeping the streets. I really don't think they cared whether they was white or whether they were brown.
Well, I would say like in America, because this is a thing that like, if you were to be an NPR listener, National Public Radio, they would call it the browning of America. But really what kind of drives it, at least in the United States, is labor force. It's completely the labor force because they will work cheap. They will work much cheaper. They don't have, you let lots of people emigrate here for an opportunity for work or whatever, and they don't have the sense of entitlement. That's what people would call it. Like the idea that you want to make enough to fucking survive is entitled. Oh no, I don't want to live in a house with everybody in my entire family all crammed into 3 rooms. No, I would like to be able to have a job, a regular 40-hour week job, and make enough to buy my groceries and pay my mortgage or whatever. But that's seems to be what motivates it in the United States. Nobody would really cop to that. Like that class of people.
Same here, man.
But it's the same. It's like a slave class, a new slave class of people.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll give you an example. Like when we opened the doors to the EU, because obviously people that were part of the EU after like 97 were essentially allowed freedom of movement. So the EU became like the United States of Europe. So similar to America, except the fact that nobody shared any of each other's cultures or languages. So at least in America, even if you got an accent, you can move from Louisiana to Washington State and people can understand you. And you'll have a similar, you'll both be into maybe football, smoking a bit of weed, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Whereas, obviously in the EU, much as I love many of the EU countries and the people from them, there is quite a big difference in culture.
Yeah.
So in about 2000, we started getting this huge rush of people from like areas around Eastern Europe and Portugal, Italy, Greece, Spain, basically everywhere except sort of France and Germany. You still had a few from France and Germany, but all of the others. And so these people would come over knowing that in their own country they could build a 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom house, big house with like a triple garage or garage, on like 5 acres of land, and they could build that for about $70,000. Whereas in the UK, to buy that land would cost you $1 million.
Yeah.
So they come over. They still do it now, just to a much lesser degree. And now the whole Brexit thing has happened. The amounts are tiny. You have to have like a qualified trade and stuff like that. But they were coming over for many years, and they would stay 8 people to a 2-bedroom house.
Yes.
So they're splitting the rent, to the point where they're paying like £50 a month, which is about $65-70.
Yeah, that's the same thing in the US. Just from being working class growing up and having a lot of like odd jobs and working everything from construction to deli to liquor stores to gas stations. Like I've done all of these kind of lower, quote unquote, lower class, working class jobs, and that's very common. Very common. I always end up working with people from El Salvador or stuff like that, and that would be their living situation. That I mean, I was being a little glib, but it's like they'll have like 15 people in a 3-bedroom house, and they'll all work all the time because there's a part of it's also they're sending money back home.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry. Prophet says we don't share each other's cultures here either. Yeah, and that's kind of true. We don't. Like even where I live, South Carolina, I'm like an interloper. They did not dig when everybody from the north started fleeing to the south. That was not something they were super happy about.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't have had the South so nice then, should they? Such high-paying jobs. No, I'm obviously joking. I was reading something the other day. I hope this doesn't get your channel banned.
Please don't.
I was reading something about the South, and I feel like maybe I have been reading propaganda for many years because, I always thought, like, we're always taught over here that essentially the North were fighting to end slavery.
It's a very small part of that story, yeah.
Yeah, like I read this book, which led me to a couple of videos, and it was like, no, not at all. Essentially, like the South had their own idea of how they wanted to live, and a tiny, tiny part of that was slavery, and many people in the South wanted to end slavery. And one of the videos I watched was one of the first ever recordings ever done, and it was like 1904. The guy was, I don't know, in his late 60s. He was a mixed race dude from Virginia, and he was saying, I can't even speak how he spoke because you would get banned, but he was saying how he got on fine with the white people because, you know, he had some of that blood in him, and he got on fine with the other people because he had some of that blood in him as well. And he was saying after the war and even now, which would have been 1904, people are saying that it was all about slavery and this and that. And he was like, it absolutely was not about that. Like, for the people that were actually in the trenches as such, fighting the war, it was nothing to do with that. And then there was another one from a guy called Ben, and I can't remember his name, but he was this black dude that I can't remember if he was born free or if he bought his freedom. And he essentially began to make his own. He had a lot of businesses, a lot of real estate, and so he was buying a lot of land. And he actually built some of the. He built a lot of kind of big houses where people could go if they were in hard times. He built one of the first battered wives shelters.
Okay.
And he would lend money out to people of any race. Like, he wasn't anti-white, and obviously he wasn't anti-black. It was just crazy, man. It was like I was reading something that just I could never have thought was real, but it was from these people's own mouths.
Well, we have this misconception. I think that anything before right now is the Dark Ages. You know what I mean? Like, everything was just awful and terrible. And there's a lot of nuance that is often missed in these things because it doesn't have like a ground view of what was it actually like to live there. What was everyday life like? You know, it's always good to go to primary sources, things like diaries, recordings, stuff like that. It gives you a little bit more of a flavor of the reality of the situation and how people really felt, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
it was mind-blowing.
like, you know, most people in the South were not slave owners. Like, you know, there were, you know, people all go on and on nowadays about the 1%, the top 1%. Well, that's kind of a very similar situation back then. Like, it was not like a common thing for everybody to have. Most people worked alongside slaves. I mean, granted, not suggesting that like being a slave was a preferable situation or anything like that. But it was what it was. And if you were poor, you were kind of in the same boat to a certain degree. You know, obviously there was attitudes and there was probably like a sense of entitlement. You know, just being a slave in general is dehumanizing.
Yeah.
In the same way that when people came over to the Americas, you know, there was indentured servitude. You know, like that's a lot of people, especially, you know, I'm Irish by heritage, and a lot of Irish people were indentured slaves. And that was a form of like permanent slavery a lot of times because they'd come over, they would have to work off their debt from somebody who paid for them to come over, but then they would be under very strict rules. And if they broke any of the rules, they would add time to their indentured servitude. So sometimes that would just add up to their entire life. And it happened very often, you know? Prophet says JLP tells us it was better to be black on a plantation than black today. Is this correct, Sean? I don't know. I'd have to ask JLP himself. I'd have to hear more of what JLP's reasoning is. I have a feeling it would be better than today. Well, I mean, you know, because you're you're a dirty authoritarian, Prophet. So I assume that he would think so. Yeah.
Well, he does think so, doesn't he? He's like, but you know, it's all the way you're looking at it. Obviously, you know, he is obviously a caricature almost of himself. But you know, what he says is some of what he says is reasonable. You know, like he says that, you know, the family unit was a lot closer back then, and you know, whatever anybody says, he lived it. So you get a lot of people kind of ridiculing him and whatnot, but they didn't live it. They're doing what I did, which was kind of going by what they've been taught and what culture and society tells you.
Yeah.
And that's one opinion, of course.
Well, I think, you know, I don't know if I would ever go as far as old JLP there. But the notion that like something was kind of tragically done to the black community in terms of encouraging destabilization of the family unit, de-incentivizing for upward mobility, that's a real thing. And I think we see the results. Even back in the day when we started this stuff, social programs and whatnot, it was considered to be like an experiment, the great social experiment. And now nobody wants to just own up to the idea that maybe it was and maybe it wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. Maybe it didn't work out the way they thought it would. You know?
Do you think this is just going to go on forever, Sean? Like, do you think because of tribalism, where it's just going to go back and forth? So we see at the moment it's very popular and accepted in the West to be kind of massively anti-white. It certainly isn't in my country. It's completely fine to be like that. And then I could just see it kind of swaying from one way to the other just till the end of time.
I think you're probably going to look at something like that. There's always going to be like in some people's minds, like kind of a battling over demographics, because it makes people feel like they have purpose, especially when we live, relatively speaking, we live in the greatest time ever to be alive. And especially if you're lucky enough to be born in the Western world, you have to find problems a lot of times, because a lot of this stuff is disseminated from on high. Like we're talking about, the most privileged, wealthy, elite people in the country are the people that disseminate these ideas, and they suffer no consequences in it because they're social constructionists. This is like what rich people do for fun. So like, I was always thinking about this, when I was younger, in my early 20s, and kind of just becoming more aware of the way things worked and stuff. And I was just like, if you have no other problem in life, you don't have like the regular problems like a regular person, like, oh man, I got to pay my electric bill, I got to pay my mortgage. Like, these are your primary concerns. If you don't have those kind of concerns, what is your purpose? What are you doing with your life? And it's just to gain power and influence. And especially before the internet, before everybody had kind of a voice of their own, if they so choose, it was much more coming from one direction only. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it does make sense. It does make sense. Speaking of which, the trial of Jussie Smollett, or Jussie Smollett, the great French Canadian actor, is going on at the moment.
Yeah.
And it seems like every day something else completely insane comes out.
Yes. I just kind of caught up recently. Actually, there's a channel I enjoy, Actual Justice Warrior. Sean something or other, fellow Sean.
Yes.
He did a video, I think yesterday, about it. That was actually pretty entertaining. He always puts an entertaining kind of twist on everything, but some real madness going on there. Some real like silly shit. And you just like, man, why isn't this one on TV? Like this would be awesome. I'd watch every second.
Yeah, I would if I could. It's very amusing. So we found out. So obviously, as most people know, he was saying that he went out for an egg sandwich and at 2:00 in the morning, and then was supposedly accosted by two, what he said were white MAGA chads, or whatever we want to call them, and that they tried to beat him, but he beat them off. And we saw him crying on that interview where he was like, "I beat them off to show people that gay black people can do this."
Like that whole interview is gonna stand like for the test of time of being one of the most absurd, obnoxious things ever. I mean, that's gonna haunt that guy forever, and it should. But I have a feeling they're gonna go through the motions here. Lots of potentially embarrassing things coming out, but at some point, it's just gonna he's gonna be right back where he was.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think he'll get back. I mean, they still have people that defend him.
No, I know they do, but I feel like this is such an embarrassment. I mean, to think that he, of all the people he could have of all the people that he could have hired, he hires two massive dudes from Nigeria.
Yeah, two giant, because that's those. I have a feeling Jussie Smollett was not like a well-liked person. He
Okay.
seems really annoying. He seems like his friends are really his friends because he has money,
Yeah.
which is what these guys technically kind of were.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like all of my friends only like me because of my
Because of
massive wallet.
massive wallet. Hagbard says he beat them off. What good? Well, which came out. It came out in the trial. He's like, yes, I do
Yeah.
hang out and do drugs and masturbate with at least one of these guys.
Yeah, I saw that.
Prophet says, I totally believe that Jussie Smollett beat off two dudes at once with his mouth. With his mouth. It's called it's a mouth-based video game.
Yeah. Yeah, so he couldn't find two white guys like to play the roles. He had to get two massive black dudes.
Because he doesn't know anybody. Because I don't think he knew anybody that would be shady enough to do that.
Yeah.
And then
obviously they're terrified because they've come over here to work on a visa, I presume. And now are they looking at jail time? Oh no, because they're cooperating with the prosecution, I guess they're.
Oh yeah, they're giving up everything, dude. I mean, where do you think they got that video of them like practicing?
Jesus, I know.
There's a video of them practicing what's going on.
You find that video?
Juicy is not there. I can see if I can find it. Juicy's not there, but there's a guy standing in for Juicy that's obviously there at Juicy's behest and kind of giving them their performance notes. Don't hit them too hard.
Yeah. And then there was the one, obviously we saw the video of them buying the ropes and the bleach and the MAGA hats, which was another thing I kind of felt was a bit dim-witted. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous, but to buy all of the parts from the same shop, like rather than kind of trying to just using checks to pay for things. I mean, this was like the most retarded way of doing this.
Ever. Yeah, no, they're not. These are not sharp individuals. These are not sharp people. They're not on the ball, as you'd say. And it's like everybody that like jumped onto this immediately because that's what they want. Everybody was just so thirsty. Everybody was just so fucking thirsty for there to be a massive hate crime. They just, oh yes, they were salivating. They wanted it to be true. You have Ellen Page, or at the time Ellen Page, now Chad Elliott Page. At the time, Ellen Page on late night crying and like physically shaking.
I can't stand that person.
I mean, they're talking about like fucking, we're going to be beaten and killed in the streets if you're gay or black. And you're like, what world do you, and these are again, the most privileged, entitled people on the fucking planet Earth. They're in amongst maybe 10,000 people on Earth that live that way.
Yep.
And they're pretending, they're acting as if they have some sort of like fear of this or this stuff even happening. They're so out of fucking touch. Like, when was the last time like they did anything for themselves? They don't live in the same planet we live on, which is fine, by the way. I would love to live on their planet. Okay. But until I start making that Zoobox money, that YouTube. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna call it. If I ever start a Patreon, I'd be like, give me some Zoobox cheddar, please.
Yeah.
Prophet says, did you see that Jussie Smollett mukbang? 10,000 calories of steam in under 60 seconds. He crushes the bottle at the end. Does he got any Taki powder in it though? That's what I'd like to know. That would impress me. Does he have any of that hot Taki powder in there, Prophet? Takis are like these new things that I've discovered.
Damn, Prophet, always delivering the goods.
Hagbard says he walked the subway to get himself a sandwich, sir. Why did I eat at Subway? They're open all night. They're open late. That's what you do. That's what you do when you're hungry. At night, you go to Subway. You go to places like Subway.
Yeah.
Too good for McDonald's, I guess.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know.
Minus 17 or whatever.
What would you rather do? Would you rather go Subway or McDonald's? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. There's a polar vortex going on. There's a polar vortex going on. You get hungry. You get hungry, dude.
I'd go to Mackie D's.
I'd go to Mickey D's too. Especially if it's 2 in the morning. If it's 2 in the morning, I'm going to Mickey D's.
Yeah.
Although there is that thing, if you are in a polar vortex and you go get your Mickey D's and you have to walk home, it's gonna cool off. It's gonna cool off on that walk.
That's true. I mean, I suppose if it depends, like if you know you're going to get attacked by two Nigerian MAGA chads on the way home, then that's going to add time to the cooling effect of the Mickey D's.
Exactly.
So you have to take this into account.
That's what I love about the story as well, is that he still had the noose around his neck when the police came there to preserve evidence.
Still
and also
smeared in
I think he was holding the Subway sandwich. I don't know if that's true.
He was. No, he was.
I love that. That's a beautiful detail.
Yeah. Smeared in bleach. The little like 10mm noose around his neck. And the Subway. Amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
If it beggars belief, like, how the fuck did anybody hear that story and not be like, huh?
Yeah, because I was listening to Nate the lawyer. I bet you know Nate the lawyer.
Yeah, I know Nate the lawyer. Yeah.
And he was saying how when it happened, like literally the night that it happened, he was talking to his missus, and they were up late or whatever. I don't know, or maybe it was the next day, and they were talking about it, and his wife was like, "Oh, it's so sad. I can't believe that we're living in an age where, if you're gay and black and an actor, you can't even walk to the Subway and get something to eat." And apparently Nate was like, "It's 2:00 in the morning. There's a polar blizzard. You don't think something smells kind of fishy about this?"
Yeah, he's also, Nate is also, he's a prosecutor. He's a former prosecutor. Like, he's a lawyer. Like, so he's way more like looking at the details and seeing that they don't add up. But everybody has that emotional impulse. Everybody has like confirmation bias. They want their priors confirmed, and they want to have their worldview validated. And it doesn't matter what it is. Prophet says a roommate of an ex used to have a secret Subway addiction. She went literally every day and tried to hide the evidence, but you can't hide that amount of Subway wrappers and receipts. You can't. It's just not done.
Nice. I've never really found the attraction to the Subway. I guess it's slightly more healthy than Mackie D's.
Oh, very slightly. It's actually prison grade meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought that halfway through that statement. I'm just trying to find something else, because we also have the fact that CNN's news anchors are dropping like freaking flies, man. You must have heard about that.
About what?
So Chris Cuomo.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Chris Cuomo. Don Lemon.
Don Lemon now implicated in the Jussie Smollett case.
Yeah. And then my mind's going. We had one before that. Who was the one from last year that we lost?
Oh, we've lost so many brave firefighters out there.
I don't know. But anyway.
So many of them, yeah.
There are a lot. And I guess that just shows the kind of, good quality people that we get gifted on the world's most trustworthy news network. I actually used to watch CNN. There was like 5-month period where I felt like that was real. And then I got to the point where I was like, how come whatever the actual news is, it always ends up going back to one thing, and it's always the same opinion on that one thing. So when Trump was in, it was like,
oh yeah,
they could be talking about some terrorist event, but then at the end of the 40-minute segment, they'd be talking about how terrible Trump was, and they'd get the talking heads on.
Yeah, because it's like this false sense of diversity of opinion that actually doesn't exist, because they all lead to the same place. So they may have like variations on why they think this, but it always ends up in the same direction. It's like I used to do this. It's kind of fun. Anytime there would be like a major like incident would happen, and you're watching like the moment to moment coverage, just bounce around news stations. And sometimes you're like, are they even talking about the same thing? Because everybody has, that agenda. They have their almost like marching orders or talking points, and they just barrel down. And it's I don't know. It's a disservice, but I think that's why like media trust is so low, because people are now, especially in the past like couple years, you just see it. It's right in your face. They're just lying to you.
I just sent you something, by the way, on Twitter.
Not even trying to hide the ball anymore.
No, it was like Jocko Willing was saying the other day. Everybody is watching the movie, but it's like people are watching Or everyone's sitting in the same theater, but they're all on their phones watching a different movie, whilst the real movie is still there in front of them.
Yes.
But they're too busy looking at their phones watching their version of that movie.
Exactly. 100%.
Pretty broad question, but who do you think would be a president that could bring America back together?
That is like around right now?
Yeah.
I don't
And
even know.
doesn't even have to be in politics.
Oh, jeez. I have no idea. I don't even have a thought.
Well, somebody put to me yesterday, because obviously my cousin's on base, so I speak to the odd American in real life, IRL, now and again. And I think they heard this on Joe Rogan, but somebody was saying maybe Jocko Willink and Tulsi Gabbard, because Tulsi is kind of a centrist, a little bit authoritarian.
A little bit, maybe. I mean,
but she's also very like commonsensical.
She's always come off as very practical to me. Like even when she was running this past time, that's the first time I have ever donated to a political campaign.
Oh yeah,
honestly, because it was just the clearest difference from the rest of them.
Yeah,
and it didn't seem so self-interested and ego-driven, and because half the people up there, they're just career politicians. This is just part of what you do when you're a career politician. You just run for office. You run for higher office at some point, almost as like a PR campaign for your future, or to get in a cabinet or something like that. It's like
but the
person.
I
would not be a Jocko. I would not vote for Jocko.
Why is that?
I think like broadly, like his advice you could consider is good advice and stuff like that. I don't know if it always maps onto reality. Not everybody lives a lifestyle where you can like go to bed at 7:30, wake up at 4, and talk about the grind set all day. People really hurt themselves that way. People really fuck up their lives that way, because then you stop,
Do you think that he would expect people to do what he does, though? Or do you think he would just try and run America as a half decent, like a more
efficient, more pragmatic, I guess would be the way to look at it, right? Because of his military background.
Because can I just say one more thing? Because I will forget this. Because we can't. Everybody is relying on America, and I know it's not fair to America, but people are relying on America to stave off China. And we're kind of watching China getting stronger and stronger. I know they've had a few hiccups recently, but making some serious progress in many different parts of life and tech.
Yeah.
And America is like, I want to be this pronoun, and we should do this or shouldn't do this about abortion.
Well, it's because it's their lifestyle. It's the way.
And we are as well. So I'm not like.
No, I know that, but I'm saying China can do that because they don't have the same kind of ethical and moral considerations that we do when it comes to how they achieve their goals.
I agree.
And that's why they're able to. Been able to
build 10 hospitals in a week.
Yeah, very quickly. Everything is very quick. All the progress they make is very fast. And it's really hard to keep up with that, because if you live in a place that's like, I don't care if people jump off the buildings because they're depressed, whatever. You're gonna work in that fucking factory, dude. Make those sneakers, buddy. They don't care. Well, unless you're Apple and they're great, the great magnanimous Apple. They at least put nets at least on the building so catch people. Yeah. Prophet says, just so we're clear, I did the math on the Jussie Smollett mukbang, and that's more or less a gallon of jizz in 60 seconds.
Oh, Jesus.
I could see it too. It's all like lumpy. Oh man, Jussie, you really took down those swimmers. Those delicious swimmers.
Oh my God.
I'll bring this article back up. So
can you play the video?
Oh yeah, I can play the video. Is there a video here?
There was when I sent it.
Hold on, let me reload.
I think it's skipped. Yeah, I think it's skipped.
Yeah, it went to the next one because it auto plays. There we go.
Jussie Smollett.
Juicy, come on, Juicy.
Jussie Smollett, the actor who was accused of lying to police about an alleged hate crime in 2019, testifying in his own defense today. At the time, Smallett told police that 2 men had attacked him in the street, yelling racist, anti-gay remarks, put a noose around his neck, and poured bleach on him.
No! Ah! He's under fire for his own involvement.
Okay.
Smallett had told the court that he first knew that police doubted his race hate attack was real after getting a text message from Lemon.
Oh, shut up.
Saying that was key in his decision not to hand his phone records over to the cops. Nothing like transparency. Lemon ended his Monday night show with a report on the latest news from the ex-Empire star's trial with no mention of his own involvement. Seemingly a far cry from earlier instances where the anchor had called Smollett's case personal due to their close personal relationship. Really, Ed Don Lemon, did you do for Jussie Smollett what Chris Cuomo did for sexually assaulting brother Andrew Cuomo?
Yeah.
I love when they pull out the random
the
random Twitter people.
Yeah. You know it's real if there's a tweet regarding a situation.
Of course, yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, that means there's people care. I love that. That's another thing. One of these evil, gross things that the media does is that they clearly somebody in their offices will create Twitter accounts with 4 followers, and those will be the ones that they quote when they say people are saying, people are talking about, people are upset about this joke in this cartoon.
Yeah.
It's always
exactly backing up what we've just said.
Yeah. Look at this. Confirmation, everybody. We've done it again.
So apparently Jussie was in a hotel room with one of these 2 bodybuilding Nigerian brothers.
Yeah.
And they were playing together.
Wax on, wax off.
Yeah, that sort of thing. and
Hagrid says he also did for Jussie what Roller Girl did for Dirk Diggler.
Oh no. Such a good film, though, man. Freaking love that film.
It is an amazing film, yeah.
Burt Reynolds, amazing. Actually, they were all amazing, man.
No, that's a great one. Actually, if anybody's interested out there, if you're a big Boogie Nights fan, Prophet and I did a massively long episode about Boogie Nights.
Great episode.
Thank you very much. A few weeks ago. It came out a few weeks ago. I actually recorded it in early October.
Oh, wow.
And I got sick, and then life happened. I just kept getting pushed away. That was a nightmare to edit that, by the way.
Yeah, I bet. Such a good film, though, man. I just feel like you couldn't really change any of the actors in that and gotten a better film.
No, it's like lightning in a bottle.
Like
it's a special thing. You probably wouldn't be able to recreate that,
Yeah. And then the scene at the end, you're built up the whole movie to think that he's going to have this massive penis. And then the last scene where he unzips his trousers and flops his willy out, and it's just tiny.
I see what you're doing. Buddy.
Did you see what I did there?
So Jussie was in the hotel room, having a consensual
playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah, playing whack-a-mole, maybe doing some whippets or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Doing some poppers.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Maybe you're right. Maybe they will just kind of be like, oh, slap on the wrist, go back to masturbating Nigerians. And,
I really hope not, because this is completely fucked. Because say in a world that somebody happened to have a MAGA hat on that night and was recorded on some sort of security camera or something like that. Say just by happenstance, some random white dude had a MAGA hat on. Maybe he was going to McDonald's, and they would find that and they'd be like, "Oh, that's the guy," and that guy's life would be fucking ruined. And
you know that Jussie Smollett would be like, "Yep, that was it."
Yep. No, you know it too. It's so wildly irresponsible, and to have such a high-profile thing like this happen, and the idea that we may let him get away with it is pretty fucked. And that shows you again the class divide. If that was me or you, we'd be fucking in jail right now.
Absolutely, man.
Oh, we'd be in jail right fucking now.
I mean, I can't remember what I was just going to say.
Well, we don't live on the same planet that they live on. We don't have access to the same types of things that they like celebrities and rich people have. And
Yeah, no, thanks, man. They for filling in while I tried to clear my brain fog.
You're good.
So I heard a few people kind of suggesting what they would want for him. So I heard one person say, "Well, you kind of smeared like all of the Trump supporters, so I don't want him to serve jail time because it's a waste of federal state money. But I think you should have to go to a MAGA rally and apologize to the MAGA crowd." And then he goes, and I'm sure they wouldn't heckle you. They'd probably just cheer you and then let you go off stage. I'm like, I don't think they would.
Yeah,
but
you could have Donald Trump introduce him as, "Hey, there's my African American."
Yeah, come here to do my bidding. But yeah, I mean, it's none of my business really. But I don't think there is much point in jail time because.
Well, I don't know, man. I think it's on principle. Like, if this is a crime that most people would go to jail for, then you should go to jail. Like, period.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get to live in some sort of parallel society where you get to do shit like this. And honestly, most of what the damage is because of how big the story was.
Yes.
So there's like there's a perception out there. It affects the way people think about themselves, their own lives, what they can and can't get away with. I mean, just because Jussie's he's not unique in this. Like, especially after Trump was inaugurated, after he like in 2016, 2017, there was a whole rash of fake hate crimes.
Oh, I know.
That were constantly, and people would uncritically report on them. And then they would, a couple days later, they would find out, okay, this is complete bullshit. And then never really retract. Never really correct the record.
Anyway. No one, if you're on the side. So when Bubba Wallace, and I have a little pet hatred for him because he reminds me of Lewis Hamilton, who obviously English Formula One kind of megastar. He's won, I think, 7 world championships, gets paid £50 million a year. So it's like $65-70 million a year. And that's not sponsors. That's just his pay from AMG, Mercedes. And he's friends with Bubba. And even though Lewis is only an 8th black, he's got "Let's End Racism" on his helmet, and he's got the fucking LGBTQ colors on his helmet. And, and they've changed the color of the Mercs, which for like 70 years were called the Silver Arrows because they were silver. They're now black. And his helmet is, they've changed his like fire retardant suit to black. Anyway, so Bubba is friends with him and they're all on board the, that kind of train. And then Bubba Wallace, and then says, "Oh, there was a mini noose tied in my garage."
Yeah.
Now, I do not believe that guy is stupid enough to think that a tie rope for a garage door is a mini noose. And why wouldn't they leave a normal noose? Why would they leave
a mini noose
connected to the garage door?
That looks, exactly. That is clearly there to catch a hook. Like, it's clearly there to hold the door open.
Yeah.
I don't believe that anybody is actually that stupid. No.
I
don't, but it could have been like encouragement from somebody that he knows, like you said, like his team. Hamilton. It's become an industry, dude. Yeah. It's a way to raise your profile. It's like a PR thing now to say that you were racially profiled. Yeah. Prophet is probably a little behind because he's going tall C, and he says, "Oh, fuck Jocko." Jocko is an establishment shill, which he is.
Is he?
A little bit. He's a little Dan Crenshaw-y.
Is he? Oh shit.
A little bit. I think maybe less so than Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw is everything that is wrong with the potential future of that party, because he's going to go right back to just traditional conservative neocon shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's his worldview.
Something that worries me, because, I was always kind of, people would have probably considered me just to the left of center like 15 years ago when I was, a late teen. And then as I saw it going more and more insane, you kind of, you push away from that almost regardless of what is behind you. You're just pushing yourself away, going, I don't want anything to do with this bollocks.
Yeah.
And I do really worry, because I know that there's a lot of people out there, and I've now kind of feel a little bit libertarian. I know there's some people out there that have taken the new anarchist pill, but these things are. No offense, I know Dan is a little bit like that, and there's many other people that are like that. I unfortunately do think that type of thing is just a dream world. I don't think any country, especially a wealthy country, is ever going to go anywhere near anarchism.
I don't. Maybe in like 300 years or something.
Yeah,
I think it's natural for governments to develop, to culture to change. I mean, that's how the United States was founded, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, you probably will see some type of sea change. It's probably going to happen at the bottom, like when this thing falls apart.
Yeah, exactly.
The wheels really come off
apart first,
and there's not going to be any other way around it, other than authoritarianism could keep this train going a little longer. And I think this is one of my big concerns, I suppose, about how crazy some progressives are. Is they're going to usher in a real authoritarian. Like, they throw that word around, but you will get one, because people are going to be sick of you, and when you are like endangering people's livelihoods and for like little perceived slights and stuff like that, trying to ruin people's lives over shit like that. Like, at some point, people will be like, just make it stop. All right. Well, let's just catch up with the chat real quick.
Okay.
Prophet says, beyond being a guru huckster, this is in reference to Jocko, he's a fucking shill. When you read his writing, he's a soldier through and through. He truly believes we needed to be in Iraq and Afghanistan for freedom. No way. Tulsi is beautiful and considerate and has amazing aloha. She also looks great after a hard, sweaty workout to the Lion King soundtrack. Prof says, laugh, look at China making believe that China treats its workers any worse than we do.
Oh, they do.
Prophet,
they
come on,
absolutely do.
Give me a break. I'm not saying that like things are great all around in the United States, but give me a break.
Dan, you cannot be serious that you think that China treat their lower working class the same as the West does.
Yeah, you couldn't even have more than 2 kids for 30 years over there.
Yeah.
So come on.
I had a friend that was an immigrant from China, and he left because they were like, yeah, you could have 1 kid, and he was earning like $2 a day or something. And they get, they don't get any free anything. There are no perks. There is no, unless you're like a middle class person in Shanghai or, like a decent region. Dude, they are not the same as us.
Prophet says, okay, I'm being obtuse. I'll admit it. Thank you. I know Prophet doesn't. I mean, but you feel like that sometimes. Like, you feel like, but it becomes relative. It all becomes relative. Like, what we consider suffering, sacrifice, all these things are different across the world. Like, there's probably some people in China that are just like, don't really have the same perspective on their circumstances that we do. They don't. Yeah. Prophet says, those pop music wet markets have a great markup. So I mean, it's interesting because recently I've actually, it's because of Prophet, I ended up going down this rabbit hole of these antinatalist people, these people that believe that it's like evil and immoral to have children.
Oh my God, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a whole it's a very niche philosophy with a very niche following of neurotic weirdos.
How long has it been out in America though? Because we're gonna get it in 2 years.
Oh, it's been around for a long time. It's been around for like it's starting to I don't know if I would say it's like catching on or it's more popular now or something, but if you just look up antinatalists on YouTube, you'll find all sorts of wacky videos.
Okay.
I can bring one up actually. I might as well. Yeah. Just since you've never seen it.
Yeah, sure.
But also I did like there's like 7 hours of me watching this stuff. Because that's what I just covered it on Nightcap for a couple times. And,
I saw Project DC. Was it Project Protect DC or Project DC?
Project DC. Oh no, that was I did one about pedo hunters. That was the most recent one I did. It was like, I think it was last week.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm gonna return to the antinatalists, but I was like, I need a break. Because they come into your comments, they find you, like,
really,
they like harangue you. Oh yeah, they're very activated. They're very activated. Well, they're very like righteous people, I suppose would be the way to describe them.
I'll just finish like what I was like halfway through saying something and I kind of forgot because I always do.
That's my
The thing I agree with you, and I'm slightly worried about, is that I think we will either end up with authoritarianism from two different avenues. The one will be with all these modern day crazy far lefties that basically force it on us from their side. But the other thing that could very well happen is that the massive pushback, like we saw in the UK recently, where we had like 100-year record election towards the right, even though our right is basically centrist. You could end up with such a kickback to that side and the dang Shaws and people like that you end up with authoritarianism from the right, like it used to be when we were growing up.
And I think, don't you see that?
Not that it was fully authoritarianism.
Well,
but
I know that, yeah, but
a different right.
I definitely see it trending across Europe. Those parties are becoming way more popular than they were 20 years ago. Now they actually have like standing.
Yeah,
and it's through desperation, just like all things. If
Yeah.
people feel they're desperate, they feel like they're backed into a corner, and they
Yep.
want somebody just to make it stop.
Well, the two people that are second and third in the French presidential campaign, because my cousin, for her sins, lives in France. They are like far right. Like I can't remember her name, but the woman,
Le Pen.
yes, Marie Le Pen. And then there is a guy running in third place, very close to Le Pen, who he basically has just come out with this really long advert to the people, and it essentially said, many of you out there will be thinking, what happened to France? Like, what happened to the France of my childhood? What happened to the France that my grandparents told me about? They're obviously having a lot of terrorism events. They're having a lot of churches burned down by a particular demographic.
Yeah.
And, I can understand people being like, yeah, screw that. Like, I know what it was like 25 years ago. I want that back. But, yeesh.
I mean, they're more openly like have at least the government has national pride.
Absolutely.
In a way that is poo-pooed in most other Western countries.
100%. France.
I mean, because France, didn't they try to ban the burqa? Or did they ban the burqa?
They have banned the burqa.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty major step because they're like, well, burqas don't align with our cultural and national values.
Yeah, and also they were just saying we can't recognize people. That people wearing burqas to go and rob stores.
Yeah.
And then be like, sorry.
Well, now they got COVID masks, so they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because that's what happens over here. More and more increasingly in our major metropolitan areas and cities, especially in California, San Francisco, these smash and grab things. But it's bleeding out into other places too, like Middle America, like Minneapolis.
No.
Like it's kind of I mean, granted, the larger, more metropolitan parts of those areas, but it is starting to happen for sure.
Where does Dan live? Prophet, I mean.
Oh, he lives up north, in New England.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's feeling the cold like me then.
Yeah, God, he's feeling the cold. Yeah, it's actually a dreary day here. It's like it's, for us 48. You're like it's cold here. So
Jesus.
Yeah, it's Christmas. Nice Christmas weather. Actually, I like it though. I like it when it's a little chilly.
I need to lay concrete and it's too freaking cold.
Well, that would suck. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I just want to introduce you briefly to these antinatalist people. This is just a random antinatalist woman. The friendly antinatalist, she calls herself. I can't remember exactly what this video is because she made a lot of them. I haven't shared the screen yet. That's probably why, Sean. Thank you. Boomer status confirmed.
Boomer.
There it is. There she is.
Big
There's my love.
Oh God.
Let's see what she says. She explains why she's an antinatalist.
Take those South Park things off your shelf.
Do decent things like Hellboy and Army of Darkness. There we go.
The Quran.
Hi everyone, this is Dana, the friendly antinatalist here, and this is my first YouTube video. And my submissions for Amanda is, why are you an antinatalist video contest?
I like her accent.
I learned about antinatalism about 2 years ago.
This is like proto-American Karen voice.
Just the way she said why. I love that.
about the same time that I learned of the child-free Facebook community. What happened there was I got bingoed for the first time in my life. I got bingoed, meaning I was questioned about my decision not to have children. And that's never happened to me before, actually. And so it happened for the first time a couple of years ago. And the whole experience didn't sit well with me. And I didn't know why. And so I had to do some reading and some investigating. And that was when I learned about the child-free choice and learned about the term bingo and how I was getting bingoed. And no wonder I took offense to it and was very uncomfortable. So from there, I learned about antinatalism. I don't know if the groups popped up about the same time. I know that I learned about David Benatar's book on Amazon while I was looking at Thomas Ligotti's Conspiracy Against the Human Race. And that's also how I learned of Jim Crawford's Confessions of an Antinatalist. So when I discovered those two books and learned about antinatalism, it was like finding my tribe.
Wait, hold on. This might not be a good one.
Obligation to reduce suffering in this world.
There it is.
That if you do care at all about humanity, if you're not a complete and total nihilist, and most of us aren't, that we have a duty, some kind of obligation to reduce suffering in this world. and the best way to go about doing that.
She was saying nihilist, but she said nihilist.
Oh, I thought she said nipplist.
Well, and not all of us are, Mark. Not all of us are.
Is to not procreate and to not create life to suffer in the first place. And antinatalism is the only argument, the only viewpoint that stops the problem before it starts. The problem being life, the problem being suffering.
Jesus.
The other thing I really like about the antinatal.
So that is, like, in a nutshell, the bottom of this philosophy, as they call it, is that it is preferable to never exist because existence necessitates suffering.
But it also necessitates. Well, that's okay.
Well, like they have this like worldview where it's like these, they're neurotic, and a lot of times they'll use all sorts of crazy rationalizations about why they believe what they believe and stuff. They'll like climate change, disease, cancer, anything that could possibly cause you discomfort or
Jussie
pain,
Smollett.
right?
Yeah.
Well, and they just say and they completely ignore, the reality of most people's life is like, yeah, a lot of people, we go through our own trials and tribulations and stuff like that. But on the other side of those things often is where you find happiness.
But
I mean,
could
joy.
you not? Sorry, dude.
No, you're good.
But could you not? Because I'm not going to be so stupid as to think that they don't understand that obviously there are good things as well in life. So what am I missing? Because doesn't that seem like
they
beyond
think
nihilism?
They think it just outweighs it. They think suffering outweighs it, and the idea of suffering at all is incongruent with the way they feel about existence. Like, because I'm as from watching the videos and stuff, like nobody ever explains like, okay, is there a standard? Is there like an objective standard about what would be acceptable?
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. Like, what is the level of suffering that makes her think
there isn't
that no existence ever at all? Because presumably she thinks that there should have been no universe ever.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, these people, they'll go into nature, they'll go into everything and just say, look at the violence, look at the chaos, look at the suffering. And that's all they kind of focus on.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
List argument too is it also addresses the end of life argument and the suffering at the end of life and the right to die movement, which I think is extremely important and will be very influential in the coming decades as the baby boomers start to age and the nursing homes start to fill up. And antinatalism is going to benefit a lot from us having that conversation that really needs to be had about dying and death and dignity and the right to die and the right to.
Well, see, and that's another thing that bothers me is that they don't like think about the world as like on a timeline. Like I had said before, we live in the greatest time ever to be alive for humanity, right? Things do get better. We progress. We actually lessen the amount of suffering in the world and in everybody's everyday life. That's like part of the human project. and they just want to opt out of it. They don't want to contribute to society in any type of productive way that might like bring about actual change and positivity. If they spent as much time trying to do positive things and making people's lives better, go fucking work at a charity, go do something, work at an animal shelter.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
The other thing that I think kind of points out that a lot of the people that are into those types of things are often kind of upper middle class and higher, are that she is not thinking about any of the kind of, in my opinion, she's not thinking of like the actual, I don't know how to kind of express it, the problems that you bring up by not having kids. So the problems that Japan is seeing, that the UK is seeing, that Germany is seeing, you know, they're having like 1.1 kids per 2 people, are that if you're having 1.1 kids for 2 people, that means that by the time you get to those people, you know, needing help as aged people and needing funding through the government, through taxes and stuff like that, you need like an extra 900 people just to break even. So then people are like, why do we have so many immigrants? Because you don't have the amount of people it takes to look after all of these old people that chose not to have kids.
Yeah, 100%. And but they want that though, because they just want it to end. They want it to die out. So I guess they're okay with a certain amount of suffering, the suffering that would entail ending the human race. I guess maybe their nuclear war would be preferable for them, just to end it immediately, end it all. Prophet says, in the Mormon mythos, Satan proposed a perfect mortal life before the world was formed. There was a war in heaven where 1/3 of the spirits went with him and became demons and evil spirits in hell. Perhaps they are now coming to inhabit the souls of man. Maybe, I guess if you're Mormon. They found their way. The devil found a way. He always finds a way.
Apparently so. I saw Facebook have removed the Rittenhouse ban.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, apparently. I can't remember the last time I was on Facebook, but yeah, apparently. Do you think that he's actually going to sue some of these people?
Yes,
calling him a murderer and a mass shooter.
I think that's part of also why he's been doing this media tour.
Oh, dude. I'm not sure this media tour was the greatest idea.
I mean, it humanizes him. I have not actually watched very much of it because, to be frank, like it doesn't interest me that much. Like I was interested in justice being served and this kid not, having to go to jail for the rest of his life for defending himself. That was my concern. Honestly, like who he is as a person or anything like that was very secondary. He seems like a nice kid from the things I've seen. He seems like a pretty normal, all things being relative, pretty normal, pretty average, like 18-year-old kid.
Yes, he definitely just seems like a nice kid to me. The only thing I would say is that it kind of feels like the more and more things are going on, like the longer I see these, because I can't be bothered to sit through like 2 hours of them, but I'll watch 15 minutes of each one, is that he seems to be getting a bit more and more relaxed with each one. And the only downside to that is, and listen, like you said, he's 18. He's an 18-year-old from Wisconsin. And so he's swearing a little bit more. He's being a little bit more cheeky. He's saying that, Kraus like smell and that being and he talked about how he was like, I was getting all these messages saying I want to be the first young person in name a state that gets to take your virginity. And then he was like, but it's too late for that. And I was like, dude.
He's memeing. He's memeing. He's like, he's being a kid. He's being an 18-year-old kid who's got some shine on him right now. He's getting a lot of attention. I just don't want anyone
to try and run and get him because of how cheeky he's being.
Well, yeah, because there's a bunch of civil lawsuits
that's what I mean,
potentially on the table. I don't know. He has not been glib about anything about what happened, though. As far as I understand, like any of that stuff, he doesn't even really get into it very much. From what I've seen, like I said, I haven't really watched him because I'm not very interested. But I feel like if he had, that would be everywhere.
Yeah, no, he hasn't. Not that I've seen.
Yeah, because if he had, that would be I'd see it all over Twitter. It'd be clipped. They'd probably talk about it on the news, you know?
Yeah.
Prophet says he's 18. You know how much he'd make on OnlyFans? Get them feet pics, dog.
Yeah.
I thought about starting an OnlyFans one time a couple years ago, and it was going to only do feet pics.
Good Lord.
I was going to call it. That's where I came up with the name Sad Guy 86. Sad Guy 86 is my my alter ego.
Go on, let's have a look at your feet now, Sean.
Oh shit.
Go on, whip about.
They're not looking too good right now. I'd have to gussy them up a little, put a little gloss on them, you know what I mean?
Another time.
But yeah. No, I agree with you though. I kind of wish that he would kind of just go about his life, but I mean, fuck, this was done to him, so I can't really blame him also for enjoying his freedom, enjoying a little attention.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, man? Woken Bake asks, is that a vape or a Delta 8? It's just a regular vape. I got stuff to do. I got to pick up the kid in a little while. I'm not somebody that can like as a functioning high person at all. I can't even do live streams high at night. I get too high. I get too stoned, and I just start staring. I just start watching the videos without thinking that remembering that like, oh yeah, I'm not by myself. So yeah,
I know how that goes. I like seeing him at least getting the opportunity to kind of, however you feel about it, to clap back at some of the people that had laid into him.
Oh, I'm sure it feels nice, like Anna Kasparian or something. Gets the kind of laugh, and he did it kind of classy because he was like, what did he say?
He said she gets a lot of things wrong.
Wrong. That's right. Yeah, and that's kind of where he left it, and that was perfect. That was perfect.
Exactly.
Right. Woken Bake asked, when do you think he hits America's Got Talent? Probably at some point. And Woken Bake also says, I like getting stoned with my guests. Yeah, actually, Woken Bake is a really fun YouTube channel and a podcast. I would suggest going over there and subscribing. Hey, Mark, vamp for a second. I got to take a call real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Emergency here.
Yeah, no problem. Let me think. So I have no control over videos. No. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys watched it, but it was nice to see him lay into LeBron James, because I feel like LeBron James has just been getting a bit too big for his boots. I know that in America he is viewed by many people as a bit of a king, a bit of a boss in his trade. But I was watching a kind of collection of clips from him the other day, because he often talks about how deep thinking he is and how well read he is. And I saw these clips, and every single time he's seen reading a book, it's always literally just got the first page or like the first 2 pages open. So yeah, I'm not sure he is the scholar that he thinks he is. And of course, he ripped into Rittenhouse saying that it was ridiculous that he was crying, and that he had obviously been taking something before he went in, or eaten. So I can't remember what he said. Eating some lemon somethings to make himself cry. And I just think it's a sign of the times that someone could come out. Imagine if you reversed the situation. So you had a young black kid who was forced to take people's lives to defend himself. Many people were with him and saying, listen, he had no choice. He actually performed a lot better than some police officers or veterans would have performed. And you had a massive white superstar. You had like Tom Brady, perfect example. Let's say you had Tom Brady come out and say, oh, that black kid and those black tears, he's just putting it on. People would go nuts.
Oh, people would go nuts. They riot in the streets.
Yeah, so it was nice to see LeBron. It was nice to see Rittenhouse get his opportunity to say, listen, I'm a kid. I really don't know a lot about politics. I grew up really respecting LeBron and thinking he was a great basketball player. And, but now after what he said about me, like, F LeBron, like, what? There's not much more to say. So it was good to see that.
Yeah. I mean, because these celebrities with opinions on social topics or whatever's going on in the world just are, it just seems like so many self-inflicted injuries. Like you don't have to, you don't have to say anything.
You can just STFU.
Like it's cool if that's what you think privately and you want to think that, but like, why would you do that to yourself? Because what if you're wrong? Like, you're just going to look like an asshole. But again, they don't care. They don't give a shit because they suffered 0 consequences.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to sue LeBron for saying that he didn't think you were crying. It's just a nasty fucking thing to do. And it seems like it's so divorced from reality. You know, LeBron's the kind of guy that somebody like might like nudge him with an elbow and he starts crying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Prophet says Kyle should go on a tour doing trick shooting like Annie Oakley.
Yeah. He should, man. They should just line up a load of commies.
Yeah.
No, obviously I'm joking.
Just commie like action figures. He could maybe have some of the great communist leaders throughout the world, and he could do target practice. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, throw Mao up there, Stalin, Lenin,
Khrushchev.
Yeah,
yeah. But
just Chad moves. You know.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for him. He said that he wants to be a lawyer or be an attorney.
Makes sense.
It definitely does, because he said he's seen now what they're doing to people, and I think it's good for everybody. If people like BLM and anybody else on that kind of side of things had any sense, they would have used the Kyle Rittenhouse case to bring America together in the sort of attack towards prosecutorial misconduct.
Exactly, 1,000%. I 1,000% agree, and it really shows their hand that they didn't and that they don't.
Yeah, absolutely. They could have said to people, "Listen, we have our differences, but this is one of the things we've been talking about. Now you're seeing it happen with somebody that obviously shares similar values to you." I would argue that it was you don't really need any values with Rittenhouse case. It was just a clear self-defense. So if you support the right of not being killed, then you should be on that side. But yeah, I think they should have used that opportunity, and the fact that they didn't, to me, shows me that they're not for unification. That they're making money off this divide, this separation, and they want to keep it that way. Al Sharpton does not want people getting on.
No, he doesn't, because it doesn't suit his celebrity, his purpose, his profile. He wouldn't have anything to talk about. I mean, the reason they don't is just completely cynically, politically motivated. They had an opinion too soon, and then they just would not deviate from that. I mean, you still see, even after the trial, tons of misinformation, celebrities posting about, these activists, these hero activists. They were heroes that day that got murdered by this kid, JoJo and Huber. I mean, like, that was, what was his name? The Hulk. Mark something. Is it Mark Ruffalo?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark
Hulk, right.
Yeah. Mark Ruffalo had a tweet about calling Joseph Rosenbaum JoJo.
I know. Sickening,
And you're like, we don't live in the same world. We don't live on the same planet at all.
No.
At all. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you could, even if you thought Kyle was wrong, the idea that you're going to just reflexively lionize two people that were clearly career criminals, mentally ill, child rapists and assaulters.
Serial child rapists, man.
Serial assaulters. I mean, the Huber guy had a knife up to his grandmother's neck at one point. And he went to jail. Come on, man.
And listen, this dickhead Ruffalo, he doesn't even know these people. So don't come on there calling someone by their nickname that very few people know when you don't even know that guy. So by doing that, you're clearly just demonstrating that you just want to be one of the gang. I just want to be one of the gang of Antifa. Mm-hmm. And I saw people outside the jail, the I don't know what you call it there, the court, outside the court, chanting 7 shots in the back, 7 shots in the back. And I'm like, what are you talking about? 7 shots in the back. So they're just they're just trying to egg people on with false information.
I agree. Yeah, well, And I don't know how intentional it is or it isn't. Like, it's just like people are just so blindly misinformed. They hear one thing and that's the last they ever look into it. And then they just repeat that uncritically ad infinitum, like never ends. And you can never get out of that cycle because of it. And the mass media, the major corporate media, they're really to blame for a lot of this. And they're not going to be taken to task. The only good thing I would say about the Kyle Rittenhouse situation in general is that at least when the trial happened, people really could see as plain as day how full of shit most of these people were, and that this was completely politically motivated. Just gross. It still to this day makes me like just angry.
No,
like that you just try to burn down people's lives for what reason? Like what are you getting out of this? Like you could have a positive version of this coverage, and I feel like, well, maybe it wouldn't be. I don't know. It's just to get people to watch, outrage, bait, just constantly be mad, keeps people constantly watching, and people can't get out of it. And and that's the problem with being so many people only watch one news station. That's kind of like, well, this is my perspective and this is my ideological, aligns with my ideological point of view. So this is who I watch. This is who I listen to,
Yeah.
And that's on every side of every spectrum of anything, right?
Yeah, of course. And I think that, we thought that was coming to an end a few years ago, around 2015, 2016. Ironically, it may well have been Donald Trump that through his presence, he almost gave a bit more life to the legacy media, because I don't know about in the US, but like in the UK, legacy media was dying a death, like a massive death before Brexit. And then stuff like Brexit, where they managed to kind of put people on different sides, just gave them this like whole resurgence. And now big tech, obviously Facebook is run by, besides Zuckerberg, our ex prime minister, Nick Clegg.
Yeah.
That dude was our old prime minister. Okay, he wasn't technically prime minister. He was like joint prime minister when there was a, what do you call it? When there's like two different parties making up a whole government. My mind's dumb. But yeah, so he was kind of like the joint prime minister. And now he's running Facebook. And now we see big tech bringing on the legacy media to be the first in the search results. So you had a lot of news channels on YouTube and a lot of people putting out news, and they were coming towards the top. And then now they've been replaced because big tech are just bringing in the legacy media to be the big tech media as well. And it's kind of giving them this like second or third chance at life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know where we go from there, like with regards to getting past this this sort of biased media point of view. But
I don't know. I mean, I think it's so much of these things are actually controlled by how the public reacts and treats things. So if you have a smarter public, I'd probably make an argument that the media will respond to that because they want to go after whatever gets them the lion's share of views. So if people are being smarter and more responsible and actually wanting more serious journalism done, more serious reporting, then they would do that. But unfortunately, people were so conditioned to kind of only respond to like tabloid-esque stuff, tabloid-esque media. Like that's just our media diet. That's how we consume everything. And this goes all the way down to just what you watch for entertainment, reality shows, like all that stuff. I mean, I don't know if we've really contended with the evil that reality television has wrought upon the world, because it has completely fucked our perspective and the kind of things we enjoy. We only like to watch things that are like intense conflicts all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I must say, like I am quite happy that our politics is normally not quite as entertaining as that in the States, because crikey, like over here, it can be pretty boring with in regards to stuff like that. Is much more, and this isn't a good thing. It's much more hidden. you see much less sensationalism as a general. And also with regards to elections and whatnot, there are much stricter rules on budgets and stuff. So, I think you won't see an advert for anybody running for like a prime minister. Yeah. You won't ever see like a TV advert or anything like that. I think it's limited to like £200,000, about $250,000, $280,000.
Yeah.
So like recently, like the most exciting things we've heard is Tony Blair telling the current head of the Labour Party, so the left-wing party, to cut out the wokeness if he wants to win the next election. But then the guy who is the head of the Labour Party told the last head of the Labour Party to cut wokeness out if he wanted to win the next election.
Yeah, because it's all gradations of the same thing. Like, well, because that is now the populist left-wing position now is to be like, okay, this stuff is too much now. We're losing elections.
Yeah.
I mean, like, 2022 in the United States, it'll at least be interesting to see where the chips fall. I guess because if Republicans come together and take back the House and the Senate, then it should be at least a signaler to how the public is responding.
Who do you think will run in the Republican side of things
for president?
Yeah,
I have a feeling it might be Donald Trump again.
I don't think that would work, though. Do you think that's going to work?
They want him to. They're going to encourage him to, because that's like, dude, they were never more popular than when he was involved in politics. And that's all they care about. So they're going to they'll push it, even though it probably should be somebody probably like a Ron DeSantis or whatever would probably be a safer bet, right? Like that would actually be somebody that maybe would have a chance, because he's kind of a little bit like Trumpian in some ways, but he's clean cut and he's put together and he articulates himself well, and
he's young.
But he responds to the media in very similar ways that Trump would, except he can complete a sentence. Like, I mean, Trump is just like, dude, he's just like, this is like all the time. I remember when COVID was going on, they would have those daily press briefings. I'm like, why are you doing this for like 3 hours a day? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I must say, like, I do miss parts of Trump, though. I definitely miss a lot of Trump.
As an entertaining figure
man, he used to make me laugh so much. Like when that woman said to him, why are you calling this virus the China virus? I mean, we know that and he just interjects. He goes, because the virus is from China. China.
Well, because he was like, he identified an absurdity without being able to explain it. You know what I mean? Because it's like every virus we've ever had was identified from his country of origin.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it wasn't okay, because unfortunately China is involved in our shit, like involved in our media and stuff like that. They have influence.
Yeah.
We take money from them. Like there's probably a connection there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the fact that, that this particular strain, the Omicron strain, was supposed to be the Xi strain, like the XI strain, but they jumped from Delta to Omicron because obviously Xi being Xi Jinping's first name.
Yeah, and it's a common name as well in China as well. So they were like, oh, we don't want to have anybody like have negative associations with that. And it's like, would people actually do that? Like, I feel like you're actually just putting that in people's heads to do.
Yeah.
Rather than it actually be a reality.
Yeah. And how far down the rabbit hole do we go? I mean, we stopped calling it the China virus or even just like the Chinese flu or the Chinese coronavirus or whatever, because we can't offend anyone. But then Cuomo wrote a book about tackling the British variant of the coronavirus.
Yeah, I know.
And which is freaking hilarious.
But it was okay to use. It was okay to use a country of origin in that circumstance.
Yeah,
and everybody was like. So I remember when they had like the what is it, like the DNC big extravaganza when Joe Biden officially got the nomination, and they had Andrew Cuomo as one of the people that was like the talking heads that they interviewed for one of their little doc segments. He's like, when I dealt with the English virus,
yeah,
and you're like, oh, so it's okay with that, and everybody seal claps. Although I think most people, though, even in the U.S., were just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like
What are you
we've never,
talking about?
because that was their way to try to launder that name and that idea into the public, and it never took on because everybody's like, what?
Yeah.
Like you can't say that it's bad to do that in one circumstance and then just ask to be celebrated when you do it to a different country. Like it's ridiculous, you know? And obviously there's all the stuff in the American media where they called it the Wuhan virus. They called it the China virus before Trump ever opened his fucking mouth.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and they're never going to be taken to task. All right, let's catch up with chat for real quick here. Prophet says, clicked over to the JLP. He's still out resting. I'm praying his soul. We need to get that episode done so we can put it out right after his death, like media vultures. So for those that don't know, Prophet and I are going to do a big goes to the internet episode about
I'm so jealous.
Jesse Lee Peterson.
I'm very jealous. I will be watching that one. We do it live, or are you going to do an edit?
We don't know yet. It depends on if Prophet's laptop is dead or not. So,
okay, that should be a good one.
And he also says, "Did you ever see that John Travolta movie where he Mr. Magoo's himself into a hostage situation and gets blown totally out of proportion by the media and makes it so much worse?" Got to rewatch that. Yes, I do. I cannot remember the name of it, but I know the movie you're talking about. It's like a late 90s thriller.
Sorry, just adjusting my chair.
Oh, you're okay.
And so obviously we've got the Maxwell trial. Tell me what the outcome's going to be, Sean. Any jail time, or is she are they gonna let her out as a favor for not dropping anyone in it?
I think she will be given jail time. Whether or not she actually serves it, I suppose, is a question. I mean, who's going to be monitoring Ghislaine Maxwell's jail cell? I don't know. Because like it's almost like this is like controlled. It's like a psyop. Everything that gets dripped out from the trial to make people feel better about something. Like something is being done. Somebody is being talked about.
Yeah, right.
And that's another thing. I really do. I think we need transparency in the courts. I think that should be a thing. It's no longer some weird, cumbersome thing anymore where you need like giant cameras and CNN and stuff. No, you need like a court webcam. You need some microphones, and everybody should be able to see that process.
Yeah,
everybody. I agree. They are elected officials. They represent us. They're there at our behest.
Yeah, if you're paying the bills.
If you're a judge, you are elected. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me. Like you say, what would it... Okay, if we go absolute top end for everything, so top end for software, top end for we'll go midway for hardware. You're talking less than $500. I reckon you could set up a court stream because you don't need to have 5 cameras. You could just have one camera, and then any relatively big cases, then you could get in 3 or 4 cameras.
Yeah, easy.
So yeah, I don't think it needs to be really expensive.
Well, I mean, we saw with the Rittenhouse trial, it's not some high-tech operation they were running there. No, but you can at least watch it. You can at least watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jay Laura in the chat asks kind of a non sequitur here, a little off, but I'll talk about it for a little bit. What do you think about double dipping 4Ks? Escape from LA just got announced. Now I'm not buying any 4K scan Blu-rays as they come to 4K now. The only thing I would say is that a lot of the 4K Blu-rays that come out after a boutique does like a 4K scan and puts out a Blu-ray, when they release the UHD disc, is usually by the studio, and they don't have the supplements. They don't have the extra features. So if extra features and audio commentaries and behind the scenes stuff and interviews are the thing that you are actually rebuying the movie for, I still think boutique is viable. Although you could just wait until they release the 4K to see if the 4K edition also has those supplements if it's important to you. You just have to wait longer now, I suppose, because he's totally on point. We see that more and more, that like a boutique label will license it, do a scan, and then release the version, and then like 6 months to a year later, a proper 4K will come out.
So what is double dipping a 4K? What does Jay mean by double dipping a 4K?
Well, it's like being asked to buy the same movie twice.
Oh, okay.
Because like if you want the format, like it's, if you Blu-ray versus 4K UHD. So, You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, do you want to buy the same movie twice in a year? If it's important, if 4K is important to you, if it's something like you care about, that's what you want to buy, start buying 4Ks, you might want to just wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Prophet says, laugh out loud, how to derail Sean, bring up a Blu-ray release of a 30-year-old movie. That's accurate. I got that Citizen Kane 4K a couple weeks ago. Very excited. That's where I'm at.
Nice.
I'm like an old man. I'm like, yeah, give me Citizen Kane on 4K.
I love Citizen Kane.
And Jay says, yes, thank you. No problem, buddy.
Oh shit, dude! I got a doorbell. Be back in 2 seconds.
You're good. Yeah, but I guess that's the thing there. Like, it's with I mean, it's, I guess, like, you know, I'm very conflicted because if you don't support the boutiques and stuff, at some point they might be the only things that really put out physical media. Like, all of this stuff is kind of going away. Even when you go to retail stores now, you know, the section for where you buy movies is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And a lot of places like Walmart, who is the biggest seller of physical media when it comes to movies, they sell more DVDs than Blu-rays. Like, on the shelves, there's more DVDs. DVDs still outsell Blu-ray to this day. So I don't think the general population, if you're like a hobbyist, like you care about, you know, fidelity and stuff like that, supplements, special features, if you're like, you know, a film fan, but the general public, they don't care. They don't care about that shit at all. Like, if they can get a DVD for $7 as opposed to paying $15 for a Blu-ray, a lot of people will just go with that option, you know? That's the way it seems anyways. But yeah. Oh man, he bounced on me. Now I got a vamp. But yeah, as far as like the Ghislaine with Maxwell stuff goes, it's just like, I don't know, because there's no transparency there in terms of what's being reported. It's very like slow drip of information. These things that seem like they're interesting or spicy potentially, but even the information they drip out seems politically motivated. Like when they released the list of people that had been on the Lolita Express, like, are any of those people ever going to like be called into court, suffer any type of consequence? Are they going to be subpoenaed? Probably not. So it kind of doesn't matter that it's out there, and it'll fade from memory within a few weeks. It probably already has for most people. I mean, Bill Clinton 17 times. And I think we even know where they went, the various locations. And it's like, fucking, you're just not going to be given any like real true information about it. Nothing that's anything's ever going to come of. These people live on a different planet. They might as well live on a different planet. Shit. I got some brain fog, guys. I was up late last night doing a video. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to premiere early the rough cut of a video I made. So I do a series occasionally. I've done like 4 of them thus far, called The Existential Dread of. And the new one I recorded and cut it together last night. So we'll just hang out and watch that for a few minutes, and hopefully by the time it's over, Mark will be back. Oh, he's back now. Well, now he's gonna have to watch it too. All right, Mark.
Rude boys.
All right. Well, I didn't know when you were coming back, so I promised that I would premiere a little 5-minute video.
Okay.
I finished a rough cut of a video last night, and so we'll just play it and watch it, and go from there, I guess. Oh wait! Oh no! I'm boomering. Gotta share the screen first. I got all since we did that the Boogie Nights episode. Oh, that whole soundtrack is like just seared into my brain.
It's an amazing soundtrack.
Oh, it is. It's so good. I'm not even complaining. It's just all the time I just think about the songs from that movie. Here we go.
Motoring.
Oh boy, everybody. Another one of those nights, everybody. Another one of those late nights, up, tossing, turning, thinking. What does it mean to be a parent nowadays? What does it mean to be a father? What does it mean to provide? So, of course, I was thinking about Jingle All the Way. So you got this guy, Harry, this hardworking, faithful husband. He's a captain of industry. He's a captain of the mattress sales business. He works a lot. He's down on the floor. He's up on the phones. There's no part of this business this man does not touch. It requires a lot of his time. But that's not good enough for some people. Not in Harry's life. Some of these people, they need everything. They need more. Maybe his very soul. So the old lady calls him, tells him, you don't spend enough time with us. You're not home enough. As she sits in her beautiful home and her wonderful, safe neighborhood with her son hanging out with sexual predators. R.I.P. Phil Hartman, I love you. That's all she has to do. I mean, what kind of touched life is that? They have the audacity to suggest, well, you just don't do quite enough, Harry. You don't do enough. So he does all these things, and he still is tasked with getting this piece of plastic, this toy, this Turbo Man. That's all his son wants. He's obsessed with this thing. It's all he thinks about. It's all he respects is the plastic. The plastic becomes more than just plastic to his son. It becomes purpose. It becomes a symbol, a living symbol of the struggle of their relationship. So Harry gets sent out into the wilderness. Kind of has like a dark night of the soul, a labyrinthian journey through the seedy underbelly of commercial Christmas to try to find the object of his son's desire, because he knows deep down inside that his son will withhold his love, will withhold his respect if he doesn't achieve this goal. And at some point, through all the trials and tribulations, through all the effort, all the strife, all the danger, Harry literally becomes Turbo Man. Some kind of dark, self-fulfilling prophecy if you really think about it. He has to become the material object of his son's desire to attain his son's love and respect. And Harry has done everything for his son. Someday, little Annie, he might even grow up to run this mattress sales business. Or maybe not. He wouldn't even know to appreciate it. He wouldn't even realize the legacy that his father attempted to build for him. And Harry, however Chad, however healthy he may seem, he'll probably die early. Too young, they'll say. He never stood a chance. Lives with some demons in his house, trying to suck the very essence away from his being, and denying him those simple pleasures of family, of comfort, of home, and of hearth. It's a shameful state of affairs, everybody. A shameful state of affairs. So this Christmas season, think of Harry. And remember what happened to him. Because one day, it could happen to you. Merry Christmas, everyone. All right, that's it. That's the video. I really hate to do this. I gotta go. I got an emergency. I gotta go.
Oh.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks, Mark. And Mark, I'll get in touch with you in a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.